Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Mark Hyde.
And Chris Fuller.
And on today's episode of Real Talk Christian, we're talking about the rapture of the church. What is it? When is it going to happen? And honestly, does it even matter? Fuller, you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go.
When the roll is called up yonder, when the roll... Oh, sorry. We're talking about Rapture, man. I'm just getting ready.
You know how long it's been since I've heard that hymn?
It's been since...
When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there.
Yeah, it's been since 2008 since I've heard that.
Because you got when the roll. You gotta have that low bass line.
When the roll is called up.
Okay, so... let's go down this rabbit trail for a second. Let's go down this rabbit trail.
All right, let's go.
Fuller, what is your favorite old church hymn of all time? Two. I'll give you two. What are your two favorite hymns?
Ooh, that's hard.
Right? There's so many.
I think Be Thou My Vision probably be number one.
That's the old Irish.
Be
Irish
Thou
hymn.
my vision, O Lord of my heart.
I feel like the people probably will agree with me. I feel like we need to record this.
No. And then number two. That's a hard one, man.
You think so?
There's so many good ones.
Are you just blowing smoke?
No.
You forgot what all the hymns were, didn't you?
No,
You're blowing smoke.
No, but okay. So here's the thing. I'm trying to think of one besides the one I actually like.
Amazing Grace?
Yes. Because I didn't want to be like, oh, he doesn't know any, but it's like, well, I went to PCC. Trust me, I know a lot.
You know a lot of hymns. But I would say for me, Leaning on the Everlasting Arms is probably one of my favorite.
Leaning only.
Which the version that we do at Southside, I really like. It's got that little like bop little.
Right. Yep.
It's not like a funk, and it's not like a country bow. What is it? Bow bunk. I don't know. It doesn't have like that country bop, whatever. But Lean on the Everlasting Arms and Victory in Jesus.
That's a good one.
Gotta let me some Victory in Jesus.
I liked Victory in Jesus for a long time. But then Chris Tomlin came out with that Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound.
Was that Chris Tomlin?
I think it was.
No, I think that's Brian Luttrell. He was like...
I thought Chris Tomlin
No, I think it was the Backstreet Boy, Brian Luttrell, who got saved. He found Jesus. He found Jesus. Well, anywho, while you're reading that, dude, people might not recognize it. Did Chris Tomlin really do it?
My chains are gone.
What did
My chains are gone.
Oh, there's a different song that Brian Luttrell did. But
yeah,
that version's
finally
amazing.
I'm right. Usually I'm wrong, so finally I'm right. I like it.
That's true. You got me, bro. You got me.
Anyways.
But so it's been a while since we've gotten together to podcast.
Well, not for our listeners.
Not for the listeners. It's been a week. But for us, we have not sat together in the podcast recording studio
since before Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
2 weeks before Thanksgiving.
So we've had a lot of reviews. So the last few episodes, we've always said, leave us reviews. We don't have reviews.
People are like, come on, I'm sending the reviews.
We've had like 3 reviews since like November 29th.
But people have to realize, like, we record most nights. Well, before we went on break, you and I, we were recording 3 episodes a night.
3 episodes per night.
And now we're getting back to our normal 2 episodes per night. So if we say it tonight, it's going to be, well, this won't even air. We got
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Because we just had the Andrew Wood conversation about being pro-life after birth.
Right.
We had Ryan Coatney talking about how to raise Christian kids.
Right.
And then the Peacemakers. What does it mean to be a peacekeeper?
Oh, so this is actually 3 weeks out from
data recording.
Technically, yeah. Right, anyways, it doesn't matter.
Either way, so we haven't been able to sit and drink coffee together. We've missed some reviews, so we got some catching up to do.
We do. Sorry.
But you know what? This is the beautiful thing about it being after Christmas, all right? We're drinking a gift that my sister bought me. I've wanted to try this coffee for years, and I could never justify the price tag. But she was like, you know what? My sister's the love languages. We talked about love languages and whatnot. Her number one love language is gifts.
Boom.
So which she's stupid expensive.
Hey, Amanda, my love language. I'll just go ahead and take the Rodecaster mic. Just throwing that out there. If you want to gift me that, I'm good with that.
2. Can we have 2 Rodecaster microphones?
Amanda,
that
please.
way the mic won't be at our face for the people who watch on YouTube.
We will feel loved at that point.
Which, speaking of, we have a better lighting rig now for our YouTube people.
Do. Thank you, Beth Snyder.
Thank you. The perks of being engaged to an influencer.
It's true. It's true. Anyway, so yeah, what
we're
we
drinking Onyx coffee.
Onyx.
If people don't know what Onyx coffee is, it is like one of the more expensive coffees out there.
It's basically one of those coffees that Antonio Banderas would be like, "It's Onyx Banderas," basically.
But dude, they have so many, like even people in the hip hop world, like in the Christian hip hop world, Propaganda, Andy Mineo, Lecrae, this is their coffee. They only drink Onyx coffee because it's that.
That's
good.
because they haven't had RTC coffee.
That is true. That is true. But so we're drinking Onyx coffee. We're drinking one of their Christmas roasts. We're drinking. They have like a Santa Claus and a Krampus style, where it's like the light roast and the darker. We're drinking Krampus.
He said, "Chris, what do you want to drink tonight?" And I said, "Krampus."
So we're drinking Onyx coffee. And what do you think, bro? Your honest opinion. What do you think? We did the French press just like normal.
It's all right. It's hard to gauge though because I got a little heavy-handed with the cream. Well, okay. In my defense,
You didn't even try it black?
No.
Well, guess what? We got some more.
I know. That's why I'm trying to suck it down so I can try it black. But in my defense, I've been drinking Aldi coffee and I haven't roasted it in like 2 months. And so I've been drinking Aldi coffee and it's like to that, it's got to be like a quarter cream, 3/4 coffee.
I feel like we need to tell the people your house has been killing you.
Literally.
You're literally your house, like you've been dying whenever you're in your house.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of health issues from being in my house. So we are currently in the process of trying to sell our house.
So I know someone won the Christmas giveaway for the coffee, and we'll try to get that out. But
I will try to get some roasted here over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Ish. 2 weeks ish.
So either way,
I got some stuff going on, but I'll try to get
just with your lungs. And we thought you had asthma, but you didn't have asthma.
No.
There's just something in your house that no one can explain.
Something killing me that literally nobody can figure out. Well, at first it was black mold.
Right. But you found that and you killed it.
And we got rid of that, and then we had it tested again. They're like, "No, there's nothing wrong with your house." And it's like, I can't breathe. So I don't know what.
So are you at your in-laws? Is that where you're sleeping right now?
Yeah. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Yeah, we're in their basement right now.
Living the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmares are dreams too, right?
32 years old, living in your in-laws' basement, living the dream.
Living the dream. Right. Anywho, so we're drinking Onyx coffee. We got some reviews to read, and honestly, bro, I'm excited about this review.
I'm not going to take it.
So maybe a couple months ago, we were talking about our listener base because, we got some friends in Ireland. We got some friends in South Africa. We got some friends in England, Canada.
A little bit of everywhere.
Kind of everywhere. We're Mr. Worldwides.
Hey, Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwides. Well, I made a joking comment that apparently there's some listener out in India, and I just we just laughed about it.
We did. We saw that somebody was listening in India.
Yeah, it was one person, and we're like, oh, there's someone out there scam botting us from India. And a person actually wrote us a message on Apple iTunes. Her name is Mel.
This is why you have to heed to the song. Oh, be careful, little lips, what you say.
But it gets us reviews, so I'm not complaining.
It does, but
so we actually have a listener from India who listens to RTC. I am excited about this one. So her name is Mel's Wrangler. She says, "Oh, by the way, Mel, I don't know if I can afford to send you a mini swag bag."
When you're in the States,
when you come back to the States, let us know.
Come to South Bend, we'll meet you.
But she says, "Hi there. On a recent podcast, I heard you guys mention that you had a listener in Indiana Indiana.
How do you know this is a girl?
Melissa."
No, it could be
Mel Gibson.
Could be Melford, Mel Gibson. It could be a lot of things. So you don't know if it's a girl or a guy. So you're referring to this person.
A men and a women. It says, "Hey there,
whoa,
on a recent podcast, I heard you guys mention that you had a listener in India. Well, yep, I am one of them. I am an American working at a U.S. consulate office here, and I found your podcast not too long ago. I enjoy you guys. I enjoy your open discussions and sharing the love of Jesus and how to be more like him. Thanks for your ministry. Signed, Mel." I really hope I did not mess the gender up.
Dude's probably like, oh.
So either way,
this
Mel,
girl's probably like, oh, you got it right.
Correct me. I can take a hit. Correct me.
It's going to be the night of corrections.
Oh, goodness. Whoa. Oh, goodness. But either way, so for all you guys out there in listener land, including Mel, I know we got some listeners, one specifically who's... I know it's a she, but she lives in England. She watches us on YouTube. So our YouTube family, thank you guys as well.
Thank you.
But dude, tonight we have a... hopefully not too intense of an episode.
The purpose of tonight, right, is, you know us, we can be a little dogmatic. Oh, don't make me laugh again.
Oh, it's not creepy?
No, not creepy.
This isn't a creepy conversation?
No, but
the Rapture isn't creepy?
typically when people talk about their views on eschatology.
What is eschatology?
Eschatology is the study of future things.
Mm-hmm. Or I've always taught study of end times, like the end of things.
Yeah, it's
right. What's to come.
It's actually the last days, the latter days.
Okay.
If you want to really get down to it, but it's basic. Well, we call it future things, but some people don't. Some people call it past things.
Oh.
Anyways, we'll get into that tonight. So the purpose of this podcast is not to really give so much our opinion.
Nope.
As it is to just informing on the 3 most profound views, I guess, as of today.
Okay.
And I'm going to read a little statistic. I took a picture on my phone.
And before we read into the statistics, in case someone does not know, they're not familiar, the rapture is basically when the saints are taken from earth.
It's the second
coming of Jesus.
Again,
we'll go into it.
Because there's some that believe that the rapture and the second coming are different.
Right.
Excuse me, that was a
But so
coffee
anywho,
burp.
but the Left Behind series made the idea of rapture very popular in today's mindset for more than anything. But so the rapture is literally at the end of the age.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Exactly.
All right. So give us some statistics, bro.
So this comes from LifeWayResearch.com.
Ooh, we like Lifeway Research.
And they took
not sponsored.
They took a poll of a lot of pastors, evangelical pastors.
Oh, pastors. So not just people.
Pastors.
Okay.
And so this is kind of what the pastors believe. 1% of pastors believe in preterism. Now, we're going to mention these terms, and if you don't know, we're going to get into 3 that are the main.
The more common.
And we'll group them all together.
What was the percentage?
1% believes in preterism.
Hey, Soche, is that you?
That's Soche.
You the 1%, bro?
Yeah. Him and Jonathan Welton.
There you go.
36% believe in pre-tribulation.
Okay. So that's higher than I thought.
Way higher than I thought. 4% believe in mid-trib.
Okay. And we'll explain all these here in a second.
4% believe in pre-wrath rapture. 18% believe in post-tribulation.
Okay.
25% believe the concept of the rapture is not taken literally. So it's not real.
Those are more your post-millennial people. Mm-hmm.
Yes and
because
no.
they get to the point where it's all perfect. Jesus comes back and yay! There's no like.
Well, you can lump preterism in with that. So
that's true. That's true.
That's why I say kind of.
That's really higher than I thought.
And then 8%.
Another one.
8% of pastors believe in nothing. They don't have an opinion. They don't have an opinion on eschatology, which is very weird as a pastor to me.
To not have an opinion?
Has no opinion.
Wow.
It's weird.
Okay. First of all.
Yeah. So
grow something. So second of all,
the two that really lead out. Well, the two that really lead out.
The main two
are the pre-tribulation and the concept of the rapture is not to be taken literally.
Okay, and so total that was like 60%. I can't see the stats, but is it 60% believe either one of those two views?
Yes, 61%.
61. So the majority of pastors believe in either a pre-trib or a post-trib rapture.
A pre-trib or that it's not to be taken literally.
Oh, I'm sorry.
18% believe in the post-tribulation.
Okay.
Which is strange to me also.
So basically what the stats say is the evangelical community is very widespread on this whole view of the rapture.
Very. And this is
so
why
there's not a concrete belief in the church.
And this is why I'm going to do my best because I'm very opinionated, as most of you probably know, and I can get a little
pause.
I can get a little passionate sometimes.
Just a little bit, but we like some passion.
Just a little bit.
Mr.
So,
Goonie?
I have in my notes here, don't be dogmatic on any view.
Do you really?
In my notes right down here, it says, do not be dogmatic on any view.
Shut up. You really put that in your notes?
For my reminding. Because I can get dogmatic on it. And my father-in-law will attest to this.
That's really funny. Anywho.
So we're going to talk about the three main, all right? So out of the, and I say the 3 main, the first one was only 1%, the first one.
Okay.
But if
I see that growing though.
But it's growing, and that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, so, the theologian D.A. Carson is a preterist, and I know he's
Is he? I didn't know he was. Yeah. I knew of several other people. But anyways, so preterism, all right? So this first, a lot of people were like, what the heck is
I know,
preterism?
we're just throwing out words like nobody's business.
When I first heard of preterism, I'm like, what the crap is this? And so preterism branches out into two different schools of thought.
Okay.
All right, so you have partial preterism and full preterism.
Okay.
Today, we're going to kind of be doing a little bit mixed, but mainly a little bit more partial.
But the general idea.
But the general idea of what it is. And this is the belief that many of the prophecies that speak to the end times or the latter days have already taken place, or most of them have taken place, depending on whether you're full or partial.
So basically, the book of Revelation has already happened.
Has either happened or most of it has happened, and now there's just a few things left that have to happen. Okay. So it's basically the rapture is going to happen. It's not even going to be really a rapture. It's going to be Christ coming to earth and setting up his rule and reign. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's typically, well, we'll get into it in a sec. The second thing I want to kind of go over today is the pre-tribulation. Pre-tribulation
view, which is probably, I would say, the most common in the church.
So it's 36% of pastors we saw believe this way.
But I would say even more people because of the Left Behind series.
Well, so think about it, all right? So 36% of pastors, and each pastor has a congregation. So
the average church size is, I think it's like 80.
Is it?
Because there's like a little bunch of country churches in mom and pop. But either way,
I don't know. But whatever.
But if there's 10,000 churches, so say 36%, that's still
360. Yeah,
that's still thousands of people.
3,600 is 10% of 10,000.
My bad. So. But then you multiply that times 80. I mean, it's still a big percentage, like a big group.
Right. So, it's the belief that the rapture, the taking up, the catching up.
Oh, yes,
catching up in the clouds,
the gathering of the saints
will happen before the 7-year tribulation.
Okay,
and they separate out the rapture from the second coming of Christ.
Okay, and the tribulation is when Satan is ruling the earth, persecuting Christians, doing his thing. Everything you see with the seals.
I'm gonna get into some of these, of these, and I didn't write them down, but I'm gonna get into some of the more layman definitions of it. So, and I want people to realize that I'm saying these things and I'm trying to be as general about the belief as I can, but there's so many different people that believe. I mean, are you a dispensationalist pre-trib? Are you, I mean, it's just ridiculous how many branches it could be. So I'm just kind of giving the snapshot of the general,
the big picture,
the general big picture. Yeah. So,
y'all good with that? Y'all good with the big picture? I think y'all good with the big picture.
So the third one I want to mention is the post-trib, and I lumped in pre-wrath because it's basically the same thing except for we're splitting hairs on some things. Yeah. But it's a post-trib,
literally splitting a hair, probably
pretty close. But it's a post-trib, pre-wrath, rapture type of view, and that's that the rapture happens before the wrath of God is poured out. And this is following the 7-year tribulation. So
now that's pre-wrath. I mean, because I'm technically a post-trib, so I believe we'll live through the entire tribulation.
Well, but most post-trib people believe that the wrath of God is different, and that wrath of God and post-trib will take place on the judgment seat.
That's what I believe. That's what I believe.
Right. And so that's why I'm saying, but the rapture happens before the wrath of God is poured out. That's the total judgment of everything.
I just realized I gave my opinion. My bad. We're not doing opinion time yet.
No opinion. Shh, quiet. So let's have a little discussion.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay.
So let's get a couple general terms out there. So we talk about rapture. That's the catching away is the common phrase.
Okay.
It's the gathering of the saints. It's the angels going out to the four corners of the earth and bringing in. It's the
we see the
separation of the wheat and the chaff.
And people talk about that passage in 1 Thessalonians where Jesus will call the saints of clouds, and he calls the dead in Christ to rise first, and we'll join him in the clouds, and therefore we'll forever be with the Lord.
I think it's 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 18.
I botched that verse, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you got the general basis. It's also 1 Corinthians 15 talks about it. John 14 talks about it. 2 Corinthians 5 talks. I mean, there's tons of verses. And really, I didn't want to get into too many of the scriptures. I will give references to some scriptures on some of the views. And then a lot of it is just a way of interpretation of how we're interpreting the scripture.
Right. Yep.
So
because we all have the same Bible.
I think it's hard to be dogmatic about things that, at least in the majority of a people's opinions, I'm excluding the 1% of preterists here, believe that there are future events that are going to happen in some way, shape, or form. It's hard to be dogmatic on that.
Right.
Because we don't know. Now, if you're a preterist, you'll be like, well, hey, I know.
We don't need to worry about it. It's all good. We don't need to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. And so let's, so yeah, that's the kind of thing. And by the way, if you don't know what dogmatic means, that means you're like firm stance. Like you're not budge from it. Right. It's what you believe, and you're not going to be changed or swayed anyway.
Like we're dogmatic that coffee's better than tea.
No, I'm not dogmatic on that.
I am.
I am dogmatic that RTC is a great podcast to listen to. And I don't know why I am dogmatic.
Shameless plug, homie. Shameless plug.
So a tribulation. Okay. So the tribulation, there's a couple different ways of looking at the term tribulation. Based on, at least in this sense, on what you believe.
Okay.
But typically a tribulation, Old Testament, would be some type of foreign country or something that's oppressing and chastening the children of God. Typically in the Old Testament, that was the word tribulation was attributed with that. You never saw when God was judging Israel that he used the word tribulation. He always used that he was going to judge or pour out wrath or whatever, the day of the Lord type of thing.
Specifically with the exile, where, with the book of Daniel and Nehemiah, Ezra, Jeremiah, those were literally, that was a punishment judgment upon the children of Israel, which was a tribulation.
Right. Speaking of which, Jeremiah and the roasting food over burning dung fires, that's just disgusting.
Old Testament be crazy. Woo! Or the one prophet that ran around butt naked.
I think that was Jeremiah too.
Is that also Jeremiah?
Jeremiah was an interesting character. If you have not read the book of Jeremiah, you probably should.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog too, but that's a
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Thank you. Yeah. But Jeremiah was a crazy judge.
So if we
prophet, crazy prophet.
So we've kind of we've talked about rapture.
So basically,
we've talked about tribulation.
Tribulation is so rapture is it's catching up to the saints.
Right.
A tribulation is an outpouring of God's wrath in some way, shape, or form.
No. A tribulation is a persecution from humans.
Okay.
From one human to another.
And so not God specifically doing it.
Wrath is a judgment of God.
Gotcha. Okay.
That is when you hear God's wrath. That's a judgment from God. When you hear about tribulation, typically it's associated with.
Like the foreign powers coming in, or these people coming in and doing this thing.
If I was from the preterist point of view, the Israelites went through a tribulation period from the Romans. Right?
Oh, with the destruction of the temple back in AD 70, and all that. And again,
not only that,
another exile,
the expelling of all Jews in 135 AD.
Yep.
There were several times, even in, I'm trying to remember if it was 66. Maybe it was 86. I can't. Somewhere in the first century, Jews were expelled from Rome the first time because of riots that were happening because of the Jews and Christians that were in Rome together. And so, a little church history for you.
Well, I know. I don't think that was 66. But
it might be 86.
But either way, it's the fact of.
Anyways.
So certain people would view these things as these are actual real life people who are persecuting, for lack of better words, God's chosen people, whether or God, I would say it's
a form of tribulation.
Israel or the church, it's some sort of tribulation.
So now when we talk about the great tribulation, that typically is associated with the persecution of the church by Satan or
the Antichrist.
So
and the Jews too, because it talks about the Jews and the church in Revelation.
Yeah. So it's just typically it's the great tribulation has always been associated with the Antichrist or Satan or Satan's mouth. Depending on.
But either way, that's not God's wrath. That is somebody persecuting.
Typically,
God's people.
it's in most views it's not God's wrath. Now in pre-tribulation, some of the pre-tribbers believe that tribulation and God's wrath are one and the same.
Right.
And that is not the case if we look at the term tribulation used historically throughout Scripture.
Okay.
So we're going to look at the historical word of it. So I'm trying to remember, is there any other terms that we need to go over real fast? Latter-day terms. latter day.
I mean, there's prophecy. I mean, there's different views with prophecy. Like there's the views where prophecy is all in the future. There's like preterists, and this is where I kind of fall into a really weird category. I know Soche, if he's listening, he hates it. He hates me for this, but I'm an already not yet with prophecy. Like I'm a partial preterist, where I believe a lot of revelation has happened, but there's still a lot more that's going to happen. It's not. And there's an ultimate. I'm an ultimate fulfillment.
So, all right, we're going to talk about it historically. Okay, so historically, the early church has always been an already not yet. Historically, and then historically, Revelation was not written until 90 A.D.
Right.
So it was post the destruction of Israel. Post. It's only been in the last 150 years that some people has said, no, that Revelation was written back in 66 or 68 AD, right before the destruction of Jerusalem. And that's when all the prophecy was fulfilled, was during Revelation. But historically, the early church, Eusebius, Clement, all these old church fathers,
they've seen as Revelation is to come.
As to come, right. It was the already but not yet fulfillment of prophecy. That's the historical church's view on things. We
don't need to go too much into
I don't know much about eschatology.
He's read a lot. But okay, so we got some terms, we got some church, so we at least got some bases to work with. We know what tribulation is, we know what God's wrath is, we know what preterist means, we know what the already not yet prophecy, so we at least got a basic framework of stuff.
Kind of, yeah. And so now I'm just going to hit a general overview of just these three different topics. It's, again, I'm not trying to give an opinion now. I'm just giving what the general population of these different beliefs believe in.
Okay.
And a little bit of history. So we're going to look at preterism first. I tried to do it's already happened. It hasn't happened, but the church won't be here for this, and then it's going to happen. We're going to be here for
I got you.
So I'm trying to do it in
let's get through this.
So it has been agreed on historically between preterists and non-preterists that the Jesuit, Louis de Alcázar, whatever his name is, some weird dude.
Alka-Seltzer.
Wrote there you go, Alka-Seltzer.
I mean, it's Alcazar.
Yeah. Wrote the first theology on the matter of preterism. He lived between 1554 and 1613 AD. So realistically, this school of thought's been around 500 years, right? Preterism.
Right. Which still is not theoretically, I mean, it's not as long as it's not as long as what the church has been around.
Right, right. But so preterism comes from the Latin term preter, which is the study of the past. That's what it means. It means past. Preter means past.
Okay.
So it's a belief in the study of the past.
Which obviously means it's history. It already happened.
Right. So preterism holds to the belief that the fulfillment of prophecy, the Olivet Discourse, 1st, 2nd Thessalonians, 1 Corinthians, Revelations, etc., on and on, that's already happened. So Satan has been thrown into the lake of fire. The millennial reign has already taken place, and we are currently living in the kingdom of God now. This all took place from the death of Jesus to the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD. The kingdom of God is currently being established every day as the furtherance of the gospel takes place. Jesus will come again when the world has been evangelized. Preterists often use the passages to strengthen their argument. Matthew 5:10-23, I say to you, you will not have gone through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. Matthew 16:28, truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Matthew 24:34, truly I say to you, this generation shall not pass away till all these things take place. Luke 9:27, I tell you truly, there are some standing here now who will not taste death until they see the kingdom of God. So some of the more famous preterist Christians, again, we're not being a preterist, being pre-trib, post-trib. This is not saying you're not a Christian or you are a Christian. This is just a belief in the Christian.
It's not a salvation issue.
It's not even close. But some of the most famous ones are David Wilkerson,
which he's still alive.
He's still alive. Jonathan Edwards.
Oh, sinners in the hands of an angry God.
Yeah. He's a great theologian. Jonathan Edwards has put out a lot of good stuff. R.C. Sproul, another one. R.C. Sproul is so good. David Chilton and Gary DeMar.
I don't know those last two.
Gary DeMar is he's alive nowadays, and he's a very big proponent of preterism. Soche sent us the article on his book.
Oh, that's okay.
Which I got his book, and I read his book on Soche's recommendation. But David Chilton is another big name in the preterist world. So that kind of does a quick overview of what preterism is. if we have time, we can discuss some more of this at the end. I have a section in here that says discussion. Just throwing that out there.
No, we're being educated right now.
So yeah, look, we're gonna move on to pre-trib right now.
Okay,
pre-tribulation. So John Darby was by no doubt among the people that was the modern people that was a proponent of getting the idea of pre-tribulation out into the Christian community. He lived between 1800 and 1882. So we're talking 200 years.
Okay.
So it's a little bit newer compared to preterism. Mm-hmm. There are also some that believe Edward Irving, 1792 to 1834, may have come up with the theory first. So it's
and I will say this: I don't think this has become a popular view in the church until the Left Behind book series came out.
It really wasn't.
Right?
Yeah, it really wasn't popular until really the past 60 years.
Right,
60 years it really took off.
So the Left Behind books was more of just a mainstream approach, and I know a lot of people believe. Let's be honest: a lot of Christians get their. I shouldn't say. It's not our generation's books. It would be my parents, like the boomers and the Gen X.
Right.
A lot of the theology of pre-trib is because of the Left Behind books.
I believe the books.
Nikolai was the Antichrist, I think, right?
I believe weren't the books written in the 80s and the movie series started coming out in the 90s with Kirk Cameron and stuff like that.
The books were still being released around the time where my dad passed away. So maybe the last one came out in the late 90s.
Okay.
I feel like because I feel like he was up to date on them and he got them as they go.
Right.
When all his kids moved out, my mom was like, "Do you want his books?" I'm like, "No."
But I mean, this belief was really taking off back in the time of like the Billy Graham, Billy Sunday heydays.
Okay,
this is where those revival tent gatherings. This is when this belief really took off. But the theory is thought to be that it has been around for 200 years.
Okay,
228 depending on who you go to. But
still, only a couple centuries.
Only a couple centuries.
Only a couple centuries.
I was trying to figure out how the best way to describe this one and then the next one. So I went ahead and just let the Gospel Coalition guide me on this one.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
We like the Gospel Coalition.
I do. So the Gospel Coalition describes pre-tribulation this way. The dispensational teaching of the pre-tribulation rapture fits within an end-time series of events in which Christ will return for his church in two distinct stages. First, Christ will return in the clouds to rapture all true believers. It is commonly understood at Christ's secret return for the church and will happen imminently like a thief in the night, so that believers will suddenly vanish without any warning, and those left behind will not know what happened to them. The rapture will mark the beginning of a 7-year great tribulation centered around the nation of Israel and will feature a number of devastating judgments. After the tribulation, Christ will return visibly to the earth to establish the millennial kingdom. The second stage of Christ's return is the second coming. Although he already returned once for his saints, both stages of Christ's return are often grouped together under the heading of the second coming. Dispensationalists typically interpret 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 18, along with 1 Corinthians 15:51 through 52, to support their belief in pre-tribulation rapture. They argue the rapture is the resurrection of all true Christians from the time of Pentecost till the time of the rapture. The resurrection differs and is unique, and the resurrection described in the Old Testament as well as the one described at the end of Revelation 1. In addition, meeting Christ in the clouds means that the rapture differs from Christ's visible return to earth. Dispensationalists correlate this to John 14:1 through 3, to argue that if the rapture occurs at the end of the tribulation, then Jesus' disciples return to the earth instead of his Father's house as he had promised. Once in heaven, the church is present to the Father, faces the Bema seat, which is like the judgment seat, 2 Corinthians 5:10, and will be married to the bridegroom of Christ, or the bridegroom Christ. The rapture must occur prior to the tribulation to allow enough time for these events. That was, again, from the Gospel.
So basically, it's the idea of there's a secret
coming of the
and people just disappear. They don't know what's happening. Which if you watch the movies with Mark Cameron, Kirk Cameron. Well, Mark Cameron, what is wrong with me? Kirk Cameron or Nicolas Cage, but that was
that one.
Where people are just disappearing. There's car accidents, planes are going down, all this destruction and mayhem and whatever, and bam, and then all of a sudden there's 7 years of great tribulation.
There's a movie older than that one.
Wait, what?
Than the Left Behind series, and it's called Like a Thief in the Night. It's an older movie.
I've heard of that one.
It's an older movie.
Cheesy as all the other ones?
It's pretty cheesy in my opinion, but hey,
But okay, so I'm going to rabbit trail because I know our listeners love our rabbit trails. So I listened to another podcast called Recovering Fundamentalist Podcast.
Okay.
Super cool. One of the hosts, they were talking about their favorite college experiences.
Right.
And one of the hosts said that they had a guy who was like, he was always nervous about, is Jesus coming back? I'm going to miss it at their college, Tennessee Temple. So the entire floor in their dorm, all hid in the stairwell. They all laid out their clothes in certain ways, like during after curfew. So everyone's supposed to be asleep. They all hid in the stairwell. Someone blew a horn and just watched. Wow. And this dude was running from room to room, and nobody was there. Like, people had their laptops still open, and like Word documents up, and clothes were sprawled out everywhere in the hallways.
That's so mean.
I'm like, y'all messed up.
That's so mean.
But that's the idea with pre-trib, is all of a sudden people are just gone.
They call it the teaching of imminence.
Yeah.
It could happen at any moment. And it's going to be immediate.
And, but some people, I mean, I won't get into too many of my reasons why I don't like this view, but we'll get into that later. We'll get into that later. But basically, the idea is the fact of Jesus he won't come back to establish his throne, but he'll come to rescue the church before the tribulation. People will still get saved during the tribulation because we got the prophet. That's where
that's where the resurrection of the saints happens. So they're splitting the rapture and the resurrection separately.
The second coming, they're separate. Okay,
right.
I got you.
So that's what they're saying.
So pre-wrath.
Well, hang on a second.
We're not done with this?
So we got some famous Christians that believe in pre-tribulation. Anne Graham Lotz. She's the daughter of Billy Graham.
Which Billy Graham probably believes in this too. Then
he probably does.
But he didn't talk about it.
But he never talked about it. Same with like Chuck Swindoll. From his writings, it sounds like he does. And some of his ministry talks about this.
And Charles Stanley too.
Stanley. Yeah, just a lot of the old guys. But they don't come out and say, this is what I believe. So I didn't list them in here because I don't want to be wrong.
Right.
So Jack Van Impe, I don't know if you've ever heard of Jack Van Impe. He was a very prominent radio evangelist. Probably.
Oh, you mean like what we do?
Probably back in the 70s, 80s.
Okay.
Type.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And then Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins, the authors of the Left Behind series.
Which we've talked about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, we're going to get into the what I'm calling the pre-wrath rapture. We tie post-trib in, and we can discuss the differences along the way.
Well, let's get through this one quick.
So, pre-wrath rapture, Marvin Rosenthal is the guy from this, and he wrote a book called Pre-Wrath Rapture of the Church in 1990. Okay, so you're thinking, wow. You want to talk about early? This one's only 38 years old, or 31 years old.
But I've studied this one a lot, and this has been the historic view of the church.
So post-trib has been the historic view.
Not pre-wrath.
Pre-wrath is just a sect of post-trib.
Yep.
But it covers quite a bit. But we're going to go through it a little bit. So the cool thing I liked about Marvin Rosenthal is he actually held a different view before he wrote this book. Then he went and studied for a book and then wrote this book.
You gotta respect the man for that.
So he was actually believed in pre-tribulation. And then he started studying because he was going to write a pre-tribulation book and then ended up writing a pre-wrath book.
Sorry, publishers. We're going to change our book.
Yeah. So he was a believer, and he studied his study in eschatology led him to a different viewpoint. This view falls under the premillennial point of view. Is more of a post-trib point of view, though.
Okay.
So
it's kind of like a hybrid.
It is. And we'll get into, I kind of narrowed in on this one because I've recently done a lot of study on this one.
And
so
this
it's
is your
view,
right?
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oops, sorry.
Yes, it is. So I went ahead and I tried not to put any of my thoughts in here.
Okay.
I just grabbed it off of Wikipedia because we'll get to the discussion here in a second.
Because Wiki's full of facts. Let's go.
Because wiki. So Wikipedia puts it this way. The concept of a pre-wrath rapture is one of several premillennial views of the end time events among some evangelical Christians, which states that the Christians will be raptured at the end of a time called the Great Tribulation, before the day of the Lord. The pre-wrath position emphasizes the biblical distinction between Satan's wrath in the Great Tribulation and the wrath of God, from which Christians have been promised deliverance. According to the pre-wrath perspective, the Great Tribulation begins 3.5 years after the Antichrist confirms the, quote, the covenant with many for 1 week, Daniel 9:27. In the middle of Daniel's 70th week, the 70th week is the reference to Daniel 9:24 through 27, where each day of the week corresponds to a year for a total of 7 years. After the 3.5 years, the Antichrist will make himself known with as the abomination abomination that causes desolation. And he will reign for 3.5 years, or 42 months, or 1,260 days. The latter half of the 3.5 years is characterized by the Antichrist deceiving the world and persecuting the church, or the Great Tribulation. Although the exact timing of the rapture is unknown, one of the key points to the pre-wrath view is that the rapture comes after the sixth seal is opened, Revelation 6:12, when the appearance of the moon is turned into blood. The tribulation of God's people will then be cut short, attributed to Jesus in Matthew 24:29 through 31, or Mark 13:24 through 27, which are synoptic gospels, so of course they're going to semi-match, with the second coming of Christ and the rapture. And those who are left behind on earth will face the trumpets and bowls of God's wrath, Revelation 16:1. Hence the term pre-wrath. God's wrath against the ungodly will follow for the remainder of the 7 years in what is known as the day of the Lord. So the difference between just a regular post-trib, which has been held by since the early church, it's been held for thousands of years.
Yeah, we even have writings from Augustine. So
right,
Calvin.
Calvin, of course, but I think even back to what is his name? He was a 2nd century church father, but he held it too.
John Chrysostom did.
A lot of the early church fathers. Pretty much all the church fathers. This is the belief that they held. The big thing is, like Mark said, they believe that they're going to be here through not only the seals, but the trumpets and the bowls, all the way up to the judgment seat of God. That's the difference. So instead of going through that, they're saying, "Oh, we're going to get pulled out." The pre-wrath saying we're going to get pulled out before then, and then there's going to be a certain short time where the wrath of God will be poured out on the earth, and then everything the judgment seat will happen.
Right.
So that's the difference. But it's a post-trib. It's called post-trib pre-wrath view. So, anyways,
there you go.
So a couple of sorry about that. A couple of famous Christians that believe in pre-wrath are Marvin Rosenthal. Obviously, he was a big time back in the 60s and 70s. Kent Hovind, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a huge creationist. He actually went to jail for tax evasion. They tried to get him on. Oh, that
guy.
And he's got Dino World. He's really good. If you want to know anything about creation, like if you want to learn about creationism, you can check him out on YouTube. Robert Van Kampen, Charles Cooper, and Cameron Fultz. Those are all.
So basically, when you say these names, even if, I don't even know a lot of these names. Sometimes I don't know how many the names our listeners will know. Basically, it's just a fact that very credible people believe each one of these views.
Correct.
So it's not the simple fact of
none of these.
This one's right, this one's wrong. Right. So
none of these views are held by people that aren't considered staples of fathers of theology in the world, either now or back then, like back 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's all pretty well known people in those circles. But some of those people are known in other circles, too, for just different theology that they held or taught. So
I guess here's the question, then, is if someone's sitting here listening to us, they're like, all right, Mark Fuller, Mark Fuller, just one name, not Mark and Fuller, Mark Fuller.
We
hear this preterist view, never heard of it, but cool. Pre-trib, yeah, I've heard of that one. Pre-wrath, post-trib, I don't really like those, so I don't want to live through anything bad. What am I supposed to believe? Like, how do we actually break this down to go, okay, how can we compute this? How can we understand it? What should we believe? And A, does it matter? But then B, does it change how we view the outlook of the world?
So I'm going to melt all three views in my statement here.
Okay.
I'm going to say for my pre-trib and post-trib friends, you need to be mentally and spiritually prepared. And for my preterist fans, my preterist view brothers and sisters, but don't worry about it. We're supposed to watch, but don't worry about it.
We're supposed to watch and be ready and have the light post lit. And,
of course.
The feast, like the virgins, the 7 virgins holding the lamps, they have to be ready with their oil so they don't miss.
The pre-trib view, you come like a thief in the night, right?
Right.
So, again, I can't be dogmatic. I know what I believe, but I can't be dogmatic on anything and say, nope, I 100% know. Well, never mind. I'll take that back because I think say it on one because they believe in past things. But it's one of those things that I don't live my life in fear of it, of what may be coming or what may not be coming.
Which you've seen that a lot recently. You've seen they're putting the chips in, that's the mark of the beast, and they're doing this, and you got to watch out for this, and you have to make sure you keep that person out of the political office because that person's the Antichrist. There's a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of people think even the Pope's the Antichrist.
Brandon Soche, and you can tag him in this, but Brandon Soche said it best. He said, if you cannot hyper focus on things that we don't know are going to happen or not. Don't worry about tomorrow. Today has its own worries.
Which that's James.
That's James.
Book of James, yeah.
So the fact that we're hypersensitive and we're like, oh, well, this happened, and so this could mean this, or this could mean this, or this could mean that. Well, it could or couldn't. We don't really know. We're not God. So put your trust in God. And if you really are following God, you're going to follow his two greatest commandments, which all the laws are under, which is love the Lord God and love others. So if you really do love God, then you need to love others. And what's the most loving thing you can do? Give them the gospel. So focus on that. Put your energy towards that rather than towards worrying. Now, I think you should study. We are told to prepare and to watch. And
even the book of Revelation says, blessed are those who read these words out loud and read them and hear them.
So to say, oh, I'm not going to study, or like, for a long time, I'm sorry, she's going to shoot me.
We love you, Janelle.
But Janelle's like, I didn't want to read Revelation because it scared me. I love her. She's got such a sweet spirit and such a sensitive spirit, which is great. It's fantastic. But she didn't want to read Revelation because it scared her. And
my mom's the same way. She didn't go to Sunday night Baptist church because we Baptists. But she didn't go to Sunday night service when they were studying Revelation because she's like, I mentally can't handle it because it causes her anxiety to go up.
Right. And I'm sure that's the same with Janelle, but Janelle decided, no, I need to read these things and study these things. And so she got into studying it for herself. And I always told her, she's like, well, what do you think this means? And I'm like, well, I could give you what I believe. Or you could study for yourself and come up with your own conclusion, because I can't be dogmatic on it. I can tell you this, like my father-in-law. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are pre-trib. I'm not. I'm a post-trib. But it's not like, oh, I can't be around you because you're a pre-trib, and they don't treat me, oh my goodness, post-trib wasn't it? Now we make little jokes with each other.
Well, of course, yeah.
Because it's fun, but it's all done out of fun. It's not done out of trying to insult each other or anything like that. And we still love each other. It doesn't really matter. Because like I said to my pre-trib friends, and I've said this for years, even before I met Janelle, I said, well, if you're right, great. I won't be here. But if you're wrong, are you prepared?
Right.
And so that's kind of always been my mindset is, hey, great. If I don't have to go, if it happened in the past, preterist, great. I don't have to go through it. If it's going to happen, but we're going to be taken out in the rapture, great. I'm not going to be here.
Yep.
As a Christian, I should always be prepared. I should always. And I think that's what that scripture says. It doesn't matter. You should always be prepared to give an account. Always. You should always be living in such a way as make your calling and election sure. We should always be doing that. We should always be doing that. And so, great. If they're right, I'm going to heaven. But
either way.
And if the way that I believe is right, okay, I may have to suffer, but I'm still going to heaven. Like, it doesn't matter to me.
Right. And can I step into my opinion? Because, it seems like a lot of people who want to believe the post-trib, this is going to be very pointed.
Oh, I'm going to put this back.
I feel like this is American comfort Christianity not wanting to have any form of discomfort. You hear of Christians over in China, you hear of Christians in Africa, you hear of Christians in...
tribulation is a norm to them.
In the 1040 window, which is that part where Christianity is so outlawed that even our own missionaries in the Southern Baptist Convention, if they report back, they have to disguise their face, their voice, and everything, because if the government finds out, they're dead. No question, it's beheading or hanging.
Right.
The Christians over there, they're like, wait, you guys get to pick what denomination? You guys get to argue about music? You guys get to argue about translation? They're like...
You get to argue about the coming of the God?
They're like, we literally have to sew the Bible into our pillows. Right. Because if they find Christian scriptures on us, we're dead.
Yeah.
We don't care if it's King James or New King Jimmy or the ESV or the Message. Just, it doesn't matter. We're dead. Because we have this on us. And when I read the pre-trib, and every person I've ever talked to is like, oh, I just don't want to go through persecution. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to do this. When us as American Christians, we've been so comfortable. I'm not saying everybody.
Not everybody.
I'm going at my old churches that I was at as a kid because I would hear people talk about that. I don't want to go through it. Well, no one wants to go through persecution. But with us as American Christians, Christianity is very easy for us to be a part of. Because what's the worst persecution? Oh, sorry, you got muted on Facebook. Yeah. You got banned on Twitter.
I think, especially in this day, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, bro.
I think in this day and age, especially with all the civil unrest going on in the country right now, I think this is the best way to live. We should live like Stephen lived, the martyr, first martyr.
Oh, in Acts 7. Okay.
We should live like he lived. Okay. He was preaching the gospel, didn't care, and faced the worst form of tribulation.
And let's not forget this too. Stephen was a deacon, and the deacon's job was to physically take care of the widows and orphans with food and shelter and clothing.
It's thought to be historically that he was a Hellenist. A Hellenist was a Greek-speaking Jew.
Yeah.
It wasn't their native language.
I believe that too.
And so that's what I believe, is that he was a Hellenist. And so that's the reason why the Pharisees pretty much started Saul at the time, Saul of Tarsus. Well, I guess it's the same person, just different language. But why he started persecuting outside, but he never persecuted the apostles who were at the church in Jerusalem. You ever think of that? You don't see them getting persecuted, right? But you see the persecution him going out. Mm-hmm. Why? Well, because they were Hellenists, and the Hellenists didn't believe the same. They believed that I no longer had to be under the Jewish. I had freedom in Christ. I don't have to follow the Jewish law. They weren't Jews to the normal sense of Judaism,
right?
And so that's why they were
culturally Greeks,
right? But they were prepared to suffer for God, and yet still preach the message. That wasn't the suffering part. Wasn't a thought in their mind. Preaching the gospel was the thought in their mind, and I think that's where we need to refocus on and recenter on as Christians in America, just like our brothers and sisters in other countries. We should be focused on not so much what's going to happen to us, but what we need to do for others.
So it's instead of looking out for your own interests, seek also for others.
Right.
Seek out for the benefit of others. And, going back to this rapture thing, I'm going to step back into the pastor opinion hat time. This is an opinion, but I don't think there's that much strong biblical evidence for a pre-trib view. I know it's a bold statement. I really don't think there's a lot of scriptural support for it.
I think that about preterism and pre-trib, to be honest with you.
And I think preterism has a little bit more weight than pre-trib, but but I also have a little bit of partial preterism in me too.
And we've discussed this.
Yeah, but with pre-trib, the main verse that people have is 1 Corinthians, where we're going to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. But if the saints get disappeared off the face of the earth, A, that's going to cause a huge commotion, which we don't see, and B, people are going to be able to go 7-year timer start now.
Well, the big thing is that they don't see the church mentioned anywhere of having to go through this. They see Jews,
and a lot of it's dispensations.
They see the Jews having to go through this, but they don't see the church. The problem is we have to look at who those books and letters were written to. I mean, they were written to churches. Mm-hmm. Those churches that were mentioned in Revelation,
the 7 churches, and people want to separate the books. Like the first half of Revelation is part of the second half of Revelation,
right? And that's the study. Right. The big thing is rightly dividing the word of truth.
Right.
As the 2 Timothy 2:14.
Oh goodness, we're busting out some Awana verses.
I think it's 2 Timothy 2:14. It says you should rightly divide the word of truth.
Right.
And the problem with that is rightly divide. All right. So if you go back to the Koine Greek, so this is where understanding Koine Greek is better, and this is why pastors are required in seminary to take biblical Greek. This is why you had to take biblical Greek. You didn't have to take biblical Greek? Oh, this is why Pastor Scott had to take biblical Greek.
He had a biblical language.
Okay.
MDiv.
So I'm going through these seminary classes and I have to take it. So, but in Koine Greek, the word divide, right? Rightly divide. It's actually one word, and I forget what the word is off the top of my head. I have it in my notes at home. But it actually means to rightly teach. Not divide as in split, but to teach. So you're rightly teaching the word of truth, the gospel. You're rightly teaching it. You're not teaching a different gospel. Paul talks about if anybody comes to you preaching another gospel, be it other apostles or angels, any other gospel, this is what he says in Galatians 2, any other gospel than what I have brought to you, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them because it's not right. It's not the right gospel. And that came out because of the Judaizers persecuting the area of Galatia. In Galatians, that's why he had to write that letter. But that's the history lesson. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I would agree with you that I'm not trying. I encourage everybody to, if you haven't researched or gone through stuff, to go through it on your own, right? So don't just look at one view and say, well, this is what I believe, so I'm going to listen to this. Or I know those are wrong, so I'm going to try to disprove them. Put what you believe to the side. Listen to everybody and read your scripture and see which one actually fits.
Right.
And that's...
And at the end of the day, here's what we know. And this is, the Apostle Creed says this, the Nicene Creed says this, most people's, and like the last times part of their doctrinal statement for Southern Baptists, I know United Methodists, and all these people, all it says is Jesus will come back to judge the living and the dead. Right. So we know one thing's for certain. We know that Jesus is coming back.
Oh, he said he was. So.
Right. And has he come back yet? Nope. Are we supposed to read the signs of the time? Well, yeah.
Should.
But even back then, the New Testament saints thought he was coming back a lot sooner than 2,000 years.
I can't even talk.
The people at Thessalonica, Paul says, no,
that's the whole reason why
he who does not work does not eat. And he said that not as of just pure laziness, but people were like, oh, Jesus coming back, so we just going to chill, have a good time.
We ain't got to do nothing.
We going to have some worship circles. We going to get the guitars, sing some kumbaya.
I'm not going to go to work. What do I got to go to work for? What do I need to have?
Jesus is coming back.
Why do I need to take care of anything for? Because
the Apostle Paul said, that's not how this works, boss. That's not how this works. And when Jesus comes back, it even says, let us, when he returns, we need to be found faithful in following him. Right. But what is the end of the day, whatever you believe about the rapture, like you said, we actually have to know what you believe. Now, don't just believe it because that person said so or because
don't believe anything we say. Check it out for yourself.
Because I'm post-trib, you're pre-wrath, Soche's more preterist, Pastor Scott's pre-trib. Right. All four views within four people that...
And all four people love each other.
Right, and we love Jesus. So... At the end of the day, though, do you have to have an opinion of this is exactly when Jesus is coming back? No, but you have to have a strong dogmatic opinion that Jesus will come back and he will judge the living and the dead.
Because he said he would.
Exactly.
You should be dogmatic on that he will come back.
And at the end of the day, whether we go through tribulation or whether we don't, that's not what our focus is supposed to be on. And, even the Bible says, actually, you read all of Acts and all the Old Testament, New Testament, the people of God have always been persecuted, man.
Always.
The people of God have always been.
It's unnatural when they're not.
Right. and honestly, in America, and I'm talking to me right now, I've had a very cushy Christian life.
Yep, me too.
Very cushy.
Me too.
The most persecution I've ever got is you a pastor, so you don't like people? I'm like, that's not what I said.
Right.
And now because of the way the American culture is going, Christians, we might face some versions of persecution. We really might at the rate this is going. But so many people think that politics is the answer.
Yeah,
it's not.
Or patriotism.
Patriotism is the answer.
And it's not either.
What's the answer? The answer is this is what I'm sure of is Jesus is my salvation today, tomorrow, and forever.
Right.
It's kind of it.
Man, I can't sum it up any better than that, my friend.
Man, those were some good...
That was some good conversation.
It was. But you know what time it is, though, now?
What time is it?
Time for Fun Facts with Fuller.
I felt awkward because the color of the pad changed. It used to be blue, but now it's yellow.
I know. I was wondering that. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, so I got confused. But either way...
I thought you were going to turn on like the the spooky Halloween.
I mean, we could do this one instead.
Well, it's past Christmas,
It's past Christmas. We're in January. But either way, dude, for those who are new to the podcast, this is your first time listening, we always do Fun Facts with Fuller. We're getting close to that 80th episode mark. We've had a lot of fun facts over the last year
Almost
and a half.
80.
And you got another one for us tonight, don't you?
I'm running out, but I do.
You're running out? you never run out of things to say. You never run out of things to say.
Not with the internet.
But what fun fact do you got for us tonight, my dude?
So the fun fact of the evening. Most Disney characters wear gloves to keep animation simple. Walt Disney might have been the first to put gloves on his characters, as seen in 1929's The Opry House starring Mickey Mouse. In addition to being easier to animate, there's another reason Disney opted for gloves. Quote, "We didn't want him to have mouse hands because he was supposed to be more human," end quote. That's what Disney told his biographer in 1957.
So that's why Goofy, Mickey, Minnie,
wear gloves.
Donald Duck even wears gloves, right?
Everybody.
But now,
I don't think Donald does. I think Donald's hands are
his hands are just white. And Daisy Ducks are white too, but Pete has gloves on.
Pete.
But that's really fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Now, I do know that nowadays,
but it would make sense.
Modern Disney, they put gloves on characters that are hiding something.
Really?
Like if you look at Frozen 1, Han started with gloves. When did he take his gloves off? Well, he said, "Oh, Anna, if only there was someone who loved you," and his gloves were off.
Okay.
Because
now I'm gonna have to go back and watch some Disney movies.
watch it and read about it because the gloves are on because he was trying to hide something. He was a villain, and then when his gloves came off, you saw who his real identity was.
Man, that was a fun fact with Mark.
But same with Elsa. She was wearing gloves.
Well, she was
and
hiding
then,
her
but
powers.
when she said, and now I'm free, she let go with the gloves.
But what about Anna? Wasn't she wearing gloves at one point?
Nope.
Sorry.
Anna, there's my cat. No, Anna never wore gloves. So I got some fun facts too up my butt.
Fun facts with Mark Hyde.
Well, either way, RTC family, you guys legitimately are family. We've had a lot of people reach out to us via Instagram, DM. We prayed for some people. We've checked in with some people. We've gotten some comments, emails, voicemails. We've even had some of those from various people.
Different advice to people.
Yeah, so this has been a lot of fun getting to know our RTC family over the last year and a half. But just like always, find us online, realtalkchristianpodcast.com. You can find all of our contact information there, including email, phone number, social media handles, and
the shop.
Everything. The shop, because we got the winter line still out there, the snowflake merch.
And who knows for how much longer. We might just take it down and save it for next season too.
So are you saying that we might rip the winter shirt, the limited edition winter shirt? We might take it off the store real soon?
I mean, spring's coming up.
All I know is Annabelle, the girl who won it, she saw it and she was like, "That is so cute. That is way cuter than the picture."
Oh, yeah, I should have had you grab your hood, your
shirt.
Sweater.
I got one.
Dude,
I got the shirt.
So cool.
It's fresh.
I know. I need to order one.
I feel like maybe I should wear it next episode. Next episode, coming to YouTube, you can see and wear the shirt.
I opted for the Goonie shirt.
But either way, guys, reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you guys. But until next time,
take it easy.